today at my church service, I had someone come up to me afterwards and say that she loved the sermon because it put some of the politics that have come into the fore over the last week into context. I didn't actually expect for that to happen, but our readings today included the parable of the servants with 5 talents and 2 talents and 1 talent that were used or got buried, and how we can each in our own lives take advantage of the talents that we have. One of the things that I think is also very special is that we have a woman here who made a shawl. She knit a shawl for our executive director, Joy, who is undergoing surgery. And I'm not outing anything because Joy actually wrote a letter to the newspaper talking about what's coming up in her life and how she's dealing with various issues. And our friend who knit this shawl is a Roman Catholic who regularly comes to my service. She knit this and brought it to our Bible study yesterday for me to bless. I'm an Anglican, and she knows that, and that didn't matter. And at our Bible study, we had Methodists and Lutherans and Presbyterians and a Mormon and a few people who don't really identify as any particular thing, who all joined in with the blessing of the prayer shawl. She wanted to bring the shawl up for me to give a blessing to it, or for it, or on it, depending upon how you define the term. And it really was a wonderful experience, because here it is being knit by someone who is Catholic. She brought it to me to bless. She had various other people in an ecumenical setting participating in the blessings, and the woman who will be the recipient is herself Jewish. And it is a wonderful thing that reminds me of how lucky I am to be here at Beltrace as the chaplain for those who are here. We had a nice service today, which included a sort of an end of the world kind of piece from the Old Testament Hebrew scriptures. We had a psalm reading that included "The Lord is my refuge." We had a hymn that no one could sing but me, but fortunately my voice held up and I actually kept most of the tune on track. And then we had, of course, the gospel message with the parable of the talents, and how we're not called to use our talents just for ourselves, but we are called to use our talents for others. We mustn't bury our talents. We mustn't allow our talents to be buried either, just on a very personal level. I often think of my talents and struggles I've had in different ways around my life, my struggles with the church, my struggles with academia, my struggles with comedy, my struggles with politics, where my talents have been either buried or ignored, or sometimes in my sort of pride, often false pride, think they're not being honored enough or recognized enough. But the truth is, we keep going and we keep doing and we keep giving. And I think that's a very important thing for all of us. And I had one woman come up to me afterwards, and I talked about this a little bit in the context of the election that just happened, and how many people are sort of shocked and dismayed at everything that's happened in the elections, and how we are still called to be the people that we are, regardless of what's happening elsewhere. There will be times of trouble, there will be times of peace, there will be times of success, there will be times of failure. And we all have different talents, and we all still live together in community. And I hope mostly that is what will happen in our society, that we will be able to live in community. I feel sorry for those who lost. I am hopeful for those who have won. I find that is typically true regardless of the elections. And I have been through, I guess, in my life, my sort of late childhood and adult life, more than 10 different presidential elections, and there have been all sorts of emotions and all sorts of feelings that have happened around these, and it seems like every election is the worst one ever, and every potential candidate is the kind that we can never live with again, and somehow we survive. And if those of us who are not elected, those of us who don't run for anything, still use our talents for the best and for each other rather than just for ourselves, I think we have a pretty good way of being. The one thing that struck me most as I was working on this parable today is that the talents that are used, the talents that are given freely, and they are used by those who have them for others, not for themselves. And the one person who messes up is the one person who seems to be resentful of only having one talent rather than 2 or 5 or however many others. And use what you have. I don't know how many talents I have in my life. I'm told by others that I seem to have a lot. I live with myself all the time, so I'm sort of typical of myself, and I don't know that it's really fair for me to think of myself as a talented person. I can do what I can do. And I think that that is something that all of us should be striving for, is to whatever talents we have and whatever ideas we may have, to work for the better and for the good, not just of ourselves, but everyone. And these are thoughts I had in my chapel. As everyone, you can sort of see behind me, everyone is now departed. Quite frequently, I will come to the chapel after the service and sort of sit here and think about those who have been part of this almost 18 years of chaplaincy. I have had literally several hundred people sitting at one time or another in the 28 chairs that are in this chapel. We have what I like to call the great cloud of witnesses who are always here, and I can look at different chairs and think of who has been sitting in them in the past, and the talents that they lend to our community, to our world, and just to me, and I am grateful for that. Thank you for being here for my broadcast.